everybody, and welcome to No More Mondays. As always, I am your host, Angie Callen. If there's one thing I love more than a chance meeting, it's a chance meeting where I find out that someone has just taken the leap from employee to entrepreneur. And today, you're going to get to hear from an upcoming coach, trainer, and speaker who I know is going to take this industry by storm and hear about her experience journeying into entrepreneurship. Lissi Daniels worked her way into executive leadership in multifamily residential and property management, where she's led marketing, performance, training, and now she's channeling all of that experience and energy to equip leaders with what they need to support their teams to grow and thrive. She loves helping people tap into their potential as much as I do. So this was a very fortuitous chance meeting. We're going to have some fun today. I hope you will all help me welcome to the show, Lissi Daniels. Lissi, welcome to No More Mondays.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me, Angie. I am so thrilled to be able just to come on here and just speak and share some insights and just have some fun chatting it up.
I know. Well, and we have probably more in common. As I was digging into like your website and stuff, getting ready for today, I think you and I have a lot more parallels than we first realized. And I think it's so interesting. You know, one of my favorite things to coach is the transition into entrepreneurship and just demystifying the myths or confirming some of the assumptions. And it's just one of the most interesting and exciting and unique journeys anybody could go through. So when you and I met and you were like, yeah, I just left my job and now I'm full time, I was like, oh, and I was like, will you come talk about it with me? Because I think it will be so cool for people out there to kind of hear the real time experience of moving into this world versus the I did it stories that we get a lot of. So and I think we're going to get into, some practical advice for everybody out there around your area of genius and everything. But let's start off by giving the entrepreneur in you the voice. So tell me what you are doing, like your elevator pitch, right? You get to practice a little. So tell everybody about the entrepreneurial endeavor you are building.
Oh my gosh. I am now, like I love to call myself, the national inspirational speaker that I am. I am very passionate about influencing, connecting, giving back all the knowledge, expertise that I have over the years of experience to people out there. But it's really more bigger than that. It's about making an impact on individuals. It's about seeing people shine and letting people know that if I did it, you can do it. And, I'm here to help you along that way.
I love that you said, if I did it, you can do it. Because I think that's something that I've always either, whether outright directly or just kind of indirectly, wanted people to see through these conversations, through my experience. That's like, you don't have to accept, this theme has been coming up a lot. You don't have to accept that kind of mediocre, I'm fine mentality that we tend to live in society today. There can be more.
Yeah.
And sometimes that takes a leap of faith. Sometimes it takes a guide like we are and resources to figure out exactly how it should look. But there's so much more satisfaction that will come out of it.
Oh, yes, 1,000%.
And I think it'll help people. I also would love to know just a little bit about the professional background that informs this work you're doing. So kind of like what brought you here?
Oh my gosh. So I've been in the industry a little over 16 years. And I started off which is a normal as a marketing specialist, moved into leasing and just developed throughout the years with some really great guidance and mentors and coaches along the way through some challenges and obstacles. Of course, we'll kind of dive into that. But at the same time, I had really became more of the speaking realm the last 6 years. Where I kind of just got focused more on it and realized that I can give more back and had a bigger impact on my training than I realized. And it was one of those moments where you're in classes and people give you that aha moment or that light bulb where they're like, oh my God, you just really helped me along the way. And it's so gratifying, right? Those moments of time. And so within that, I just continue to develop my craft and continue to build and realize that, gosh, this wasn't something that I could just shake. And it wasn't something I just wanted to do. It was more of that purpose. It was more of something that became more of that passion. And it just drove me to want to do it even further.
And I want to talk a little bit about how the decision came. And I have a little insider knowledge on that. But one of the things I also think that's interesting based on what you just said and how you left us off going into that piece of the conversation is I was just telling somebody yesterday that once the entrepreneurial spirit reveals itself,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you could also say once you realize the purpose and the passion that you're supposed to be giving to the world, like once that comes to light, and it just everyday job is never going to be satisfying. It's
Yes.
just never going to work because the entrepreneur, that spirit in you, is just going to fight against the structure. And so I would love for you to share, and I appreciate you being vulnerable in kind of how this story plays out. But what was the catalyst that made you finally decide to take this leap that you're like raw and fresh into?
It was the moment where our company was going into transition. And at the moment, I was being laid off, and I knew, okay, this is now and never. I don't want to go back into the world of trying to figure out and being unhappy. And I realized that my purpose was what I was doing, which was speaking. And it was something that I was building within me in the last couple of years. It's almost one of those things where I always felt like I was being put in a box, and I'm like, no more. My creativeness, I got to get out. I got to do this. I know I can do this. But I didn't know how I was going to do it. And I was too afraid to step out on something that was bigger than me. And so it's one of those blessings in disguise, because even though we had that changes, it also made me take a step forward and be like, it's time. And this is what I'm going to do. Not knowing how, but I was going to do it and then move forward with it. And so this is where I'm at today.
You got pushed off the precipice. And,
I did.
sometimes that's just how it has to work, right? Sometimes we need an external force to push us through the like the muck or the stickiness that like the fear word is spot on. I would say that we apply a lot of fears. We're very good at playing out the like almost like the doomsday scenario, like the what if this goes really bad, and so we stay in a safer place until that external force, precipitating events, the universe, whoever you want to call it, says, no, we're gonna push you into this, like kicking and screaming if we have to. And I want to spend some time in the kind of fact that you're in the throes of this transition. So I think one thing that you made me want to ask when you said that about the fear thing is, so far, and I know this is new, but I'm curious that just in the first several months of stepping into this full time, how many of those fears are even legitimate, and how many did you go, man, that was just a self-limiting belief I was applying to myself?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. It was one of those moments where I'm like, it was me limiting myself. And I'm not saying that there's moments where I have reluctance or moments where I feel like, oh my gosh, am I making the right choice? Am I on the right path? Oh my God, this is not going as fast as I thought. But then realistically, that's not going to happen. That's trusting the process that we continuously do and say. And so at the end of the day, no, I think if anything, the fear has become more motivation of now, this is me, this is my goal, this is what I'm all about, and this is what I want to accomplish. So it kind of moved to the back front, but at the same time, I'm still a little cautious. If that makes sense, yeah.
No, that completely makes sense. And some of the, I don't know if I want to call them fears, but the entrepreneur, and I've said this before, there is no better exploration into self-discovery than entrepreneurship, because it really does it brings out all your strengths, but it bears raw your weaknesses and forces you to either figure out how to grow your weakness or circumnavigate your weakness.
Yeah.
And I love that you said the word process, right? It's a process, and it's a never ending journey and process, because you never really reach a finish line when you own a business, because there's always something new to strategize, innovate, bring to market, new type of person to serve or something like that. So it's a never ending journey.
It's very much a never ending journey. Yes.
Yeah. And you're either you can stomach the never ending journey, or you're going to kind of like throw up on the first three, ups and downs and get off the ride. It's kind of how it works. So you're either wired for it or kind of not. So tell me I love that you brought up process. So where in this, like, let's call it that full startup process are you? And what are you really trying to like workshop or what challenges do you feel like you're facing right now that you're trying to like push through?
Right now, the process is really making sure I set up my goals, right? And really be mindful of that and keeping that positive mindset. It's a forever, every morning, getting up and telling myself, this is how it's going to happen. This is what I'm going to do. And this is what I'm going to push myself through to it. But it's also making sure my goals are realistic too. Like I can't have outlandish, but at the same time, celebrating any little moment in that time frame that I have something good that's happening so then I can continue to be motivated. And I think sometimes that's what we forget. And that's what I mean by the process is it's not anyone else's journey but yours. And there's no limit to how fast or how quick you get there. You just got to take one day at a time. And so that's what I'm learning to do. And it's what's happening. It's really allowing me to uncover a lot of different things about myself, and being more patient and understanding and giving myself grace in a sense like, you can do this. This is what you got to work on. And in the sense, it's where I can focus more and I can become more guided into the direction I need.
I literally was going to ask you, what have you learned about yourself so far? So I love that you kind of proactively were like, here's what I've learned about myself so far. And also, I think one of the things that becomes really obvious, especially in the early stages of building a business, when we talk about that self-discovery piece, is it really brings to light like imposter syndrome can be really, really true, really a really inherent part of the process, because it's you're kind of stepping into something you haven't fully done yet, like the fake it till you make it, whatever you want to like associate with that. And so you have to have some sort of confidence to say, I know I can do this even though I haven't done it. The imposter can kind of rear its ugly head a little bit there. But that voice inside can, like, the voice that we talk to ourselves with becomes very evident when you're a solopreneur. And I think that grace and patience are two words you threw out that I think are so important.
I think, you have to give yourself that. I think at the end of the day, if you don't, then you're going to find fault and you're going to give up easily. And I think at the end of the day, that's something that I told myself, that no matter how I'm feeling, that this is the path you chose. This is the path for you. So keep moving, keep going, and, and allow yourself to live in the moments, right? And I think sometimes we forget that we're so fast paced to go forward, but we also hold back that fear, like I was saying, from previous, right? But if we really focus on what each day brings, those are the moments that you can really live into what you're doing. And so that's what I try to be guided and learn by. Or go through.
Two books came to mind in what you just said. One is classic, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And the reason that comes to mind, and I fully believe this, is that the book's common theme or message is all about having kind of faith and trust in the process, which comes back to process. And and again, it goes back to the kind of entrepreneurial roller coaster that is owning a business. And if you don't have faith and trust that you are on the path you're supposed to be on, and that the needs are going to be met and the outcomes are going to present, the ups and downs become completely unbearable. And that to me ties into, if you can't focus on the present and the day, you're always kind of thinking, oh my gosh, where's my next paycheck coming from? Where's my client? What's going to happen? What's a competitor doing? And you get into comparison syndrome too, which can be really challenging in this space. And that's that book I thought of as there's this book called The One Thing that I think is really cool, because it's about having this goal that might take a while to get to, but every day is a domino.
It is.
And all the dominoes will eventually fall. But if you're focusing on the very last domino, you're probably going to quit the game.
Yeah.
And that, I think that is a really important message you brought up, is to kind of like be present. So, because that makes having that faith and trust easier, that you will be given what you need to do the work that you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I have to be realistic and understand there's going to be challenges. There's going to be obstacles, like anything you start brand new. And even on this new path, that if I constantly put my mind about what not's going to happen tomorrow, or what I forgot to do in the past, or what's holding me back from the past, I'm not going to be able to proceed forward. And so if I wake up every morning, it's all about a mindset, but it's also about that growth mindset and learning that, things do take time. It's just how much you put the effort into it every single day. But it really comes back to believing in yourself. If you don't have that belief in yourself to want to achieve and really build out through the sweat and the tears, then that may not be the road. But at the end of the day, you're your number one fan, really, truly.
And you have to be I'm going to say my mom, hi mom, she's my number one fan. So I get to be my number one fan. But, and she just laughed because she's listened to every single one of these podcasts and she will love you. I can just imagine the text that's going to come 1 hour after this launches. But I think it's interesting that like you do have to be your biggest champion because ain't nobody else can do that for you.
No, nobody. I mean, you have people who are surrounding. Don't get me wrong. You have your support team. They're there for you. But if you're not cheering yourself, at the end of the day, that's who you got to approve to, and no one else. So yeah, I totally get that.
And you have to do that forever because don't mean to like drop the bomb on you, Lissi, but some of these feelings will never go away, right? Almost 6 years into this, and I've helped people start businesses that are just as, if not more successful than mine. I've helped people get jobs making $500,000 a year. And I still am like, who the hell am I to be doing this? Some days, right? Some days it's like, who am I? And who do I think I am to think I can help these people? And you just have to trust yourself and speak to yourself kindly to push through those questionable moments.
Oh my gosh, it is, because I'm like, what makes me stand apart from the rest, right? What is it about me that can make a bigger impact to people that everyone else can make a bigger impact? And so there's something that I always say is uniquely divine in each person. And those are the gifts that you have that comes out, and no one's going to be like you. So you got to continue to work because you do got that purpose. So
you have a unique value to present to the world in order to carry out the purpose. And there is a group of people you're meant to serve, which is the perfect way to get to where I want to talk about next. So tell me, I want to know a little bit more about like the business development. So mindset is like 70% of the entrepreneurial success story, I will say. But on the flip side of that comes your startup strategy, the marketing, who you're serving. So I want to know more about like who needs you, right? So who are you serving? Like, how'd you identify the focus? Who's your niche and why do they need you?
Oh my gosh. So I serve anyone that is trying to take their level of growth to the next notch, right? That's in our industry, a multifamily leadership, also sales individuals too. But I really like to focus on leaders. I think leaders are one of my biggest passions, because I feel like if we start and build that foundation from the bottom with our future leaders, all we're doing is influencing them to be the best in the next level, right? And in the next level. So I really like to speak to leaders in the sense of, how to do it, how to grow, how to build, how to really soak back into your team, how to really, guide your team to be the best that they can be. And so that's right now is where my niche is, where my strategy has been and where my focus has been. But I also like to coach individuals too, because I think sometimes people don't realize the greater gifts that they have inside of themselves to be better than what they don't know. And they just need someone to help guide it out or pull it out or listen to them so they can see it that they've already have it. So
sometimes the potential inside needs an unbiased outside identifier to either just find it or to allow you to run with that potential, right? Because we're very good at talking ourselves out. No, this is just something this isn't like, pay attention to the damn common theme, people. It's somebody trying to tell you something. And if you keep ignoring it, then eventually you're just going to have to hire Lissi and I to tell you what it is. But that's kind of what you did too. Yeah. That's what you've done too in moving into this, right? Is you identified your common themes and now are using those to serve people in not only identifying theirs, but helping them grow as leaders individually and in a team, which I think is hugely needed today as a new generation of leadership comes up.
Yes.
And they don't naturally want to be leaders as much as like old school leaders did.
No, things have changed and it's revolving. And if we can get in the midst and spread some type of expertise and knowledge and guide in some kind of way, then to me, that's helping more than what it was before. And I think they need to see that inspiration, right? I think things have changed, especially when I was leader. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about speaking to leaders, because I've had my moments where I failed as a leader. I had my moments where I thought as a leader, I knew everything. Oh, you couldn't tell me anything as a leader, right? Because, I did this, I worked hard, I got there. And then in the outcome of that, I was wrong. And you fail your team because you don't empower, you don't influence, you don't guide, you don't show the empathy that is needed for the growth to be on the next level. It was one of those things where I always felt like if someone was better than me as a leader coming in, I felt a little intimidated. And that's just being truthful. And at the end of the day, I realized, no, I need to sit there and open those doors and allow their strengths to come in and help out, because that's what makes us better than who we are. So
just like you don't want to be the most expensive house on the block, you don't always want to be the smartest person in the room.
Exactly.
It gets old, and if at some point you're like, I would like to be challenged, I would like to be mentored, even if it's kind of like informal, just by being exposed to those people. So instead of being intimidated, fearing competition, I am a huge proponent of collaboration.
Yeah.
In the coaching space, instead of being like, oh my gosh, coaching is it's so cutthroat and there's like, it's so saturated and we have to fight for customers. There's enough to go around. And if you collaborate, it makes everybody stronger.
Yeah, it does.
And I think that's true for leaders too, right? Don't fear your counterpart.
It's just,
is that enemy closer kind of a thing? But
it's one of those things it's like, work with to grow and build, and you can see things that you probably wouldn't even realize. And I know it's a lot, and, but I only can say from my own perspective of what I grew and what I worked in and what I developed over the years to give back. So that's why it's so passionate for me to speak on those things. But it's also about just the inspiration of my audience, of letting people know that I started very low. I went through challenges. This is like the most. I had my failures, but I still overcame them. But at the end of the day, it's more about what you really believe in yourself to be able to achieve. And I think that's what inspires individuals to want to grow and see that.
Yeah. And making the choice to tap into it.
Yeah.
And so this is the perfect time to now use everything you just said. Let's give everybody some tactical advice around this stuff. Because when I was reading your website, there's a lot of things you say that I'm like, like shared perspective. And there was a line I saw that said, "Don't just dream about success. Let's create it together."
Yes.
And translation, Angie's term for that is inspiration is not a deliverable. It's a starting point.
It is.
Right?
It is. So, you got to have action items to get to the next level. Even though one of my favorite books, and I'll kind of answer that as well too, is from John Maxwell, Put Your Dream to the Test. And that's one of my favorite books, because yes, you can dream big, but at the end of the day, you got to work to get to that. And this is what you're going to do. And to me, that's putting daily goals, realistic daily goals of what you can accomplish out there, but also making sure you celebrate those daily goals and those wins, right? So whether you're studying up for the first 30, your 60, or your 90 days, or vision boards at the sense, yes, I'm a big vision board person, because I always play it out to what is it that I want to focus on today, tomorrow, and the next day. And then how am I going to check those off my list, right? Those are actionable items. Those are things I know that I can see visually to be able to know, okay, I did that. And it's helped me over the past 6 years of vision boards. You do not want to walk up into my house, Andrea. I got vision boards all over the place. Different color coded action items month to month. And I break it up in all different sectors. So it's not just work related goals, it's personal and life goals too. So, but with that, celebrate those small wins. So if I achieve something, for example, like if I did a big leadership conference and I was excited, boom, I achieved that. I worked to get to that point. Now, what am I going to do next? How am I going to push to get to that next client? Or how am I going to brand myself to get to that next client? Or how I'm going to market? And I work through those strategies to make sure that I have to stand out amongst all of my other competition as well. What makes Lissi Daniels different? right? And that's what anyone has to really think about when they're developing their strategy. What makes you different? And how are you able to push it out into a world where people can see that? All of that. And that's a tagline. That's why I say the vision starts with you, because at the end of the day, it does.
Yeah.
It is you. That's what makes you grow and build. And so, and never give up. Right. That's another actionable item. It's one of those things too, even on the bad days or the challenging days, never give up, keep moving forward, and always make sure that to remember success takes time, and every success is little successes. So that's why I said go back to those daily goals that you set and you achieve and celebrate them.
There was a gold mine of information in the last 2 minutes of conversation. So on the inspiration is not a deliverable. Don't just dream, but create. I'm a big fan of the do, right?
Yeah.
You've got to do,
Yeah.
because an idea is only an idea unless it comes to fruition and in the entrepreneurial world makes money. So I want to recap a couple things there. So some practical tactical tools that you threw out to kind of do the vision board. I love. I want to dig more into that in a second. I would say realistic goal setting and task, like kind of like breaking down into tasks. And the realistic to me is like the most critical word there. Cause if you make a 17-point task list and expect to get it done in one day within the 7 meetings that you also have, you're now setting yourself up
for failure,
to quote unquote fail.
Exactly.
Versus the euphoria of completing a list for the day.
That is so true. That's why I think without having that goal mindset, and it's helped me achieve so many milestones in my career that it's inevitable that why I'm so passionate about setting those, but making sure they're realistic. Because when you don't set realistic goals, you're only hurting yourself in the long run, but at the same time, don't get discouraged if you don't hit every single one of those goals. There's always a time and place for everything to actually come into.
Yay. So you mentioned this idea that I'm 100% on board with, that the vision starts with you. I want to know, where does somebody begin? I'm guessing a vision board might come in here, but if somebody goes, wow, okay, that resonated with me, but where do I even start with that concept from a practical perspective? Like, what do I do to begin understanding what my vision is and how I start with it? Like, what are a few first actions somebody can take there?
Oh, wow. Well, for me, I always say, figure out your why and your purpose. Figure out the things that really make you what you love and what you want to see, that you want to see done or see accomplished down the line, right? So for instance, for me, I love to train. And so it started off with training. It started off with that impact of that. So then I started building off of that with my vision board. It's okay, if I'm training, then my next goal is going to be, I want to speak here at this association. Then I want to speak here at this association. And so that's what happened. I kept putting things that I was going to accomplish every 6 months, and it ended up checking off the list and accomplishing it. So if you're starting off fresh, get that board, start writing everything down, everything that you know where your strengths are, things that you want to do, no matter whatever you have in your career mindset. And then start narrowing it down to where you're like, okay, I have all these ideas. Now let me take those ideas and get it down to just 1, 2, 3 main goals that I want to accomplish. And then take that 3 main goals and start separating it into different areas of how you're going to get there. And that's how I had to do that. So like if I started off as a speaker, I said, you know what? I want to speak at TAA. Okay. How do I got to get there? I got to start building my content. Okay. How do I got to build that? Now I got to build my connections. And then it just continuously grows from there. And so that's how I did it. It was nothing really like formal. It was really more about a board, colors, notes, and just jotting everything down and then organizing it and then putting it out there and then visually seeing it. And that's why I say the vision is what you want to see happen within 30, 60, 90 or whatever down the line. And then taking each part of that, breaking it up, and then working towards it.
And ultimately the vision is your what do you put in Google Maps, right? Because if you want to get in the car and go for a nice random scenic drive, and get ice cream along the way, sweet. We did that a lot when I was a kid. However, if you actually want to go to a place, you need to know that's where you're going to go, or a general
It's your
location.
guide. Yeah. Yeah.
And reverse engineer it is exactly what I would call what you just outlined, is that like, okay, if I know I want to be or speak at or achieve this thing, I can't just randomly hope that this mixed bag of activity is going to get me there. I've got to say, okay, what do I need to do? Who do I need to become? What foundation or visibility or credibility do I need to build
to get there,
to be able to be that thing?
Yeah.
And I'm going to turn the 1, 2, 3 around on you, because I actually already had this. So in the speaking, because a lot of people want to speak, and there's so much power in it. So I want to know, what are your 1, 2, 3 topics? What do you love to speak about?
I love to speak on, I have the art of influence, the art of connecting, and art of empowerment. Those are my 3 major things.
How's that for clarity, everyone? Boom. I did not warn her that I was going to ask that question, and you had the perfect response to it. Say it was. So what are they again?
The art of influence, the art of connecting, and the art of empowerment.
And now comes a slightly loaded question. How do those 3 things come together and create a really good foundation? And why are they so important in that leadership space that you work in?
Oh, gosh. The way they all kind of came together is, I think at the end of the day, you have to connect with your teams. You have to be able to know who your people are that is a part of your organization, a part of your group, part of your entourage, as I always say, to build. And then came the influences. How are you influencing them as leaders to be the best? What are you putting into them? What are you guiding them? What resources? How are you training? And then how are you empowering them to even be better? Where are you setting up for them to be to the next level?
You will have so much individual satisfaction if you help others do those things.
Yeah.
And you're feeling that, right? Are you feeling that as you get more and more immersing yourself more and more into your journey in doing those things for yourself, and then also giving them to others? Coaching is such an interesting, speaking, the world, it's in the industry that I would say you also serve. This is going to sound really cliche, but it's a very rewarding experience because of the very unique and intimate way you can impact people. Whether it's a one-on-one interaction or a group engagement, there's still just such an intimacy in how you're able to deliver, use your own experience, knowledge, and unique value proposition to impact people.
Oh my gosh, it really is. I was just speaking to my mom the other day, and she's like, well, how do you feel after you did? I said, gosh, it's a different feeling. It's probably one of those feelings that, I've always felt, but just to be able to see the smiles or the aha and the moments that what I had to share impacted someone's life, maybe in a little bit, or maybe just a tinge, but at the end of the day, it impacted them to where I sat back and I was like, it's such a gratifying feeling. And I think that will never go away. And so if I can make someone smile or make someone encouraged, then I know I did what I was supposed to do.
Well, here's another warning. Not only will it not go away, it's going to become the drug that keeps you going, right? Because every single one of those success stories becomes another reason to help somebody else, another reason to go to another conference, another reason to launch something, a new program to help people and continue to build. And speaking of you as a speaker and as a coach, I want you to tell everybody where they can find you, explore you as, in a one-on-one, or explore maybe having you speak. How do we tune into all the amazing things you're building?
Yeah, please connect with me on all my social media. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram, building out. You can also explore and reach out on my website, LissiDaniels.com. My LinkedIn, Lissi D. Please, anyone connect and, engage. I'm here to motivate and inspire as much as I can.
And Lissi's a part of my network on LinkedIn, and I highly suggest you add her, because you're doing great stuff. And I also applaud you for being on TikTok, because that is not an animal I am willing to. It's not a beast I'm willing to wrangle. But hey,
my TikTok is definitely one of those ones that is slowly growing. I do daily inspirations. Those are my moments where I give back, and it's like a small blog of inspiring people in any different kind of way that I go through to help someone else.
Love it. You can find all of the links, social channels, all the things in the show notes at nomoremondays.info. But we're going to give everybody one more pearl of wisdom as we wrap things up. So are you ready to give your last gold nugget?
Ah, yes. And I think I mentioned it earlier, so I'm going to come back to it. Just always know to stay in the moment and always realize that no matter what, you can do anything. Just keep moving forward and never give up on your dreams, goals, or aspirations.
That is the best piece of advice, not just in today's episode, but in general, when it comes to finding career and life satisfaction is don't give up on your hopes and dreams. They may manifest and look a little differently than what you envision in kind of the ideal space in your mind. But if you look out for signs, you seek out guidance and mentorship, they can come to fruition in the unique way they're supposed to for you.
Exactly.
Yay, this has been such a good conversation. And I have a feeling we'll have to have more. We might need to do some things together because I'm very excited to see how you grow in this space and all the people that you impact. And I'm so appreciative of you coming and sharing your career story, your startup story, your entrepreneur story with us. There's amazing takeaways here for people in various walks of life. So I appreciate you and thank you for your time today.
Oh, thank you so much. I enjoyed this. Was fun.
This was fun, right? And we all want to thank Lissi for being part of the show, joining the No More Mondays movement. As I've said, I love hearing from people who are navigating their own career crossroads and the adventure into entrepreneurship. It's a bonus when they're helping others chart their paths to fulfillment in the career and life space. So there is some great advice here and definitely some inspiration plus some do. So I hope all of you took some notes. And we'll reach out to Lissi if she can support you. And for all of you out there, I would love for you to subscribe to No More Mondays. Leave us a 5-star rating because, you know, Lissi and I are awesome. It's a huge help as she and I do the work we do. And again, if you want to grab the show notes and links to today's episode, drop us comments, feedback, or guest suggestion, head on over to nomoremondays.info. And I will be on the airwaves again next week with another episode.